Welcome back. Now, the Competition Commission has recently launched a provisional report to the local fresh produce market, stating that supermarkets should display all fruit and vegetables by weight in addition to per unit. Now, retailers have opposed this proposal, arguing that it would be expensive to implement. The Watchdog, however, has not been convinced by this argument and stands on its proposition. Joining me now to weigh in on this matter in greater detail is the Competition Commission's Head of Communication, Sipho Ngwema. Thank you so much for your time, Sipho. Many recommendations and I think many issues that you have highlighted in the entire value chain. Would you say that there's a theme of gatekeeping along the value chain, but also, if there is regulation at the heart of it?
Look, undoubtedly, the fact that there are issues of entry, particularly for the previously disadvantaged and the small farmers, it means there is a level of gatekeeping which then distorts competition. And I think that some of the problems have to do with the long relationships that the market would have with the farmers. You must remember, these are new entrants into the market, but also you have things like finance, you have things like inconsistencies in terms of bylaws. So there are many other things that need intervention from local authorities, from big business, but also from those who are in the agency business. Those are intermediaries in terms of interacting with the farmers and the buyers. So there are a number of interventions that are needed, and therefore, indeed, there are those issues of gatekeeping, but it's not necessarily legislation into it that we can point to, but there are certain interventions that are needed, which can be taken on a number of areas. As I said, bylaws, the retailers can do that, those who are in charge of municipalities, but also those who are in charge of agents. I mean, there are things like conflict that we're looking at. We're also looking at issues of concentration with regards to agencies. And many of those things and others are the ones that cause this entry by previously disadvantaged and small farmers to struggle to get into the market or to be able to compete with the rest of the others who have been there for a while in the market.
It's quite interesting also that you mentioned that this is not just a case of regulation, it's also the long-term relationships that the players have with one another on this value chain. Would you say that then, because obviously this is, as the Competition Commission has said, this fresh produce market is worth about 53 billion rand a year, and SMEs and historically disadvantaged individuals account for about less than 1% of the proceeds there. Would you say that there's really no hanging fruit here and that this is going to be quite a long road to kind of correct what has been wrong in the past?
Look, there are a number of things which you call a low-hanging fruit that can be done. For example, we need more funding that can be directed towards small and previously disadvantaged farmers. You need interventions from, as I said, from a funding point of view. We have got institutions like the DTI, you have got institutions that are involved in farming, but also you have got established farmers who need to invest in terms of empowering these agents and these small farmers. We make a recommendation that those who turn over about 35 million or who are employing more than 250 people should be able to make direct investments. So we can, if we have the will, and I think we need to establish the will to make sure that these farmers are able to come in and they're able to compete, and also including those relationships, because you must remember, some of them, or very many of them, are family relationships, and understandably. However, given the history of this country, those relationships will take a particular slant when it comes to race. And therefore, you need to make particular interventions to make sure that there are funds directed at them, there is empowerment, they are affirmed, and they're able to compete. And that's why we are saying that you need targets and you need interventions that can be made by the local government authorities, by retailers, by the companies that employ these agents in order to make sure that they open space for the previously disadvantaged and the other small independent agents.
Yeah, and really quite important as well that you mentioned there that, the big players need to actually bear the responsibility as well of investing into the smaller players. How open then are the big players to the recommendations that you have put forward, considering that some of those involve some businesses divesting from some of their assets and some businesses saying that these remedial actions might be too costly?
Look, if you look at other areas, particularly in the BE spectrum, you will find that very many of these companies and retailers, they do have small business development. They have development enterprises as budgets. They have got also people who are focused on developing small businesses. And we're asking for the same with regards to agents, with regards to small farmers, so that we can be able to make sure that those farmers are able to compete. And when these are included, you will find that then consumers will have better, far choices in terms of prices. The market will be much more bigger and people will be able to get better prices and quality because you'll have more players. Now, it's kind of concentrated and you have this struggles that I spoke about when it comes to small farmers. And therefore, this is why it's needed. It can be done. It just needs a will. And very many companies have done it in other areas of their work. And therefore, we're only calling for them to do it when it comes to fresh produce, particularly for small farmers and the previously disadvantaged individuals.
All right, Sipho, as we wrap up the conversation, I understand that you have entered or about to enter the stage of welcoming submissions for public comment. Firstly, what's the procedure here and what kind of comments will you be focusing on here?
Look, we are inviting all the stakeholders, people affected by our report, particularly when it comes to findings, recommendations, and some of the remedial actions that we have put forward. We have opened our doors. They have, in terms of the legislation, up to 4 weeks to be able to come and interact with us and give us feedback on whether or not they are happy with some of the things that we have proposed and propose alternatives. We'll sit down with them. We'll agree where we agree, where we don't agree. We'll try find ways of agreeing. In the end, we will make a final determination in terms of whether or not the things that we are going to get feedback on, do they have merit and can we go forward? So people can interact with us. The report is out there. It's available on our website. They can contact our office to get copies of this report so that they can give us feedback on what we are recommending on the remedial actions that we have put forward. That will assist in ensuring that at the end of the day, the final product takes into account of the comments that they are going to make, and it's fair, and it's something that can be implemented. However, at the end of the day, once this becomes final, these recommendations and remedial actions should be implemented.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and really giving us the meat and potatoes of that fresh produce market inquiry, Sipho. That was the Competition Commission's Head of Communication, Sipho Ngwema.